Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mental Insights Podcast. This is your host, Brendan.cutuli, and we are here today for episode number 20 with Luke Burrows. Luke is a fantastic man who has a lot of great insights to share with us today. He is 23 years old, and he has endured much experience within his own self-development and as well within his career. Luke actually ended up leaving college because he was not passionate about what he was studying, and he knew that he wanted the freedom and availability to own his own business and try to create a business that offered security and as well success for other people. Through two network marketing opportunities and companies that he made, he ended up realizing that those were not working out. Throughout their failures and throughout the experiences that he learned, he in turn created Grow Together. And Grow Together is a platform, a community where people can learn more about changing the world, creating their ideas into a business, using their ideas to impact others and change the world to be a better place. Luke provides many different insights throughout his own social and work experience to impact other people to create a more positive and beneficial life within any aspect that they are trying to develop and improve. Luke is such a thoughtful and inspirational person at such a young age, at 23. It was such a pleasure to speak with Luke. I really hope you all enjoy this podcast episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Luke, for being here today. We have Luke Burrows on the Mental Insights Podcast. It's going to be a wonderful conversation today. Luke, why don't you just tell us how you're doing today and what you're up to currently?
Yeah, well, Brendan, thank you for having me on the show. I'm so happy to be here. But yeah, I'm good. Business is good. I'm just looking forward to talking to you today and hopefully providing some value to your audience. I've actually been doing a lot of podcasting on my own podcast recently. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to.
That's awesome. Podcasting is definitely a great way to build such great connections and learn more about a lot of people, whether it's, in your community or even beyond that. So I'm so grateful that we were able to connect and offer some great value to our guests today. So it's going to be a wonderful conversation, and I really look forward to it. The one question that I really love to ask my guests is, when did you first become aware of the term mental health? When did you first become aware that this was a subject matter, whether it was after you've been, in contact with some experiences within your mental health? For me, it took me, years later, after I experienced such an issue, to know what mental health was. So for your own experience, when did you first become aware of mental health and its approach to your own life?
Yeah, well, Brendan, I'm probably exactly the same as you. I went through some challenging times with severe anxiety, a bit of depression in that as well. But it wasn't until I overcame most of that, that then I started seeing it more on, on like social media or within the society or within like the public domain. So, yeah, when I was going through it, I didn't realize like that what it was, if that makes sense. But it wasn't until later on, probably like yourself, where I was like, okay, so, this is mental health, this is the things that it includes. And then, then I realized I went through some mental health challenges myself. So yeah, it was probably a couple of years later, if I'm honest.
Definitely. It seems like that's a recurring topic with a lot of people is, they experience these issues, but they're not open or aware of the resources or of just the topic in general when they're younger. So it seems like speaking with, the youth more openly will offer, some more insight. For myself, when I was younger, I really, mental health was always On one of my guests, Deepak Shukla, he explained it as being in the top shelf of the cupboard within your family's, discussion matters. And I think that's a great representation of it. At least for me, when I was young, it was kind of that top shelf thing that if you had mental health issues, it was kind of that, that 1%, that people that you really didn't think, were around you within your community. Is that something that you experienced as well throughout your like upbringing and childhood? Because it seems like mental health and comparing that to like a physical injury, there's so much differentiation of how it's looked at, how it's accepted. So what was kind of your upbringing around have someone having a mental health condition versus a physical injury or such?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, yeah, so I had like an amazing childhood and upbringing and it wasn't until my late teens, early 20s, that I was facing these challenges. So I think, throughout my childhood, it wasn't something that we spoke about because, like everything from my point of view was awesome. It wasn't until like those career choices and when my social circle, the people that I was hanging around was doing things that actually I had no interest in. And I was like, why am I different? And I was questioning myself, and this led to anxiety and everything, and then it just spiraled out of control alongside doing something that I hated. um yeah, I think it was never a topic for a conversation earlier on because no one really faced those challenges, if that makes sense. It wasn't until later on that I faced them. So um yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I think raising awareness even from a younger age, so okay, families aren't experiencing it right now, but it could strike at any time, can't it? So I think it's probably good practice to still have those conversations looking back, even if relatives or friends aren't experiencing those challenges right now, because um again, like you never know what, like when they can strike, type of thing. Them being, and to be honest, not put, so like my parents didn't put pressure on me to go to uni or go to college or anything. It was my own, I suppose, my own pressure of like, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life, type of thing. And that, along with, at the time, working a 9 to 5 that I hated, like I knew I wanted to run my own business. So I got a business apprenticeship and thought, yeah, this is it. I'm going to learn all these different things about business and build my own business empire. It just didn't work out like that. Um, the apprenticeship turned more into me being that admin guy, if I'm honest. And so, I remember thinking, when I was there, I just want to be outside and, not stuck behind a desk, for 8, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. So that I think um, triggered some of my challenges that I ended up facing. I also think, again, being around people that were on different life paths. So, we all grow up with maybe certain people, certain social circles. And I think for me, because I had these questions and kind of like this deeper purpose within inside of me that I wanted to go and explore, what, there has to be more to life than the 9 to 5, then that meets the eye. And so my friends, my social group were more I don't want to like terrorist like put labels on people, because no label defines anyone, but they were more like your traditional young people, right? So clubbing, parties, these type of things, and that's fine. That was their life path at the time, but for me that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to go out there and um explore more than that. That scene just wasn't for me. And so when I was around those types of people, that put a lot of pressure on me. And yeah, that was where a lot of my challenges came from. So yeah, that was really hard. But how I got out of that, I think I realized one day that actually, Luke, you wanted to build a business when you're not doing it. So the only way you're gonna build a business is by actually doing it, and just by getting in there and getting dirty, I suppose, and learning from your mistakes that you make along the way. So I started my own business. I tried a number of different business models, so your network marketing, affiliate marketing, and that led me to personal development, and this kind of whole, I suppose, community of amazing people that were all about purpose and passion and loving what you do and doing what you love, and starting to reflect on things and mindset and like meditation and mindfulness, and if I'm honest, I just dived into it. So and then I created Grow Together because I realized I wasn't the only young person at the time. I think I was 2021. I realized I wasn't the only young person who was going through these things, and that's where Grow Together was born. And then along the journey, I've just continued to educate myself, self-education in this personal development industry, and implement things and see what works, what doesn't work. I remember one time when I went to the doctors for the challenges I was going through, and they gave me some pills, I think it was, but I was adamant that if I was going to get out of this, and I had that belief that I obviously was, nothing lasts forever, then I was not going to do it. Then I was going to do it without the need of pills and that. Now I'm not going to recommend that anyone does that, because your doctor is a trained professional. But for me, I think I want to say I was self-aware enough that actually, in some cases, that that's only a short-term fix, and then I wanted not to then be on pills for the rest of my life. So I was committed to the long-term goal, and the long-term process of getting myself out of those situations. And actually, someone asked me this question the other day. I think really all I done was do the basics, right? So good quality sleep, exercise, eat right, water, and start to explore feelings and emotions, and journaling and meditation. So yeah, Brendan, I hope that answers your question, man.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that, Luke. I think you touched on many valuable lessons that the audience can take from, the first that you spoke about, the relationships, who you're surrounding yourself with, your environment. I've started to learn that that's so crucial. And, as you can see, when you're starting to work within, the self-development fields and such, you have these people that are very passionate about mindset, mindfulness, meditation. So it's really what they're trying to transpire within their own life is then worked within, the connections that they have and such, and it's, bouncing off each other. And if you're in a negative environment, like, the drugs, the substances, the alcohol, that can cause a lot of harm. So that's such an important topic to speak about, because it's a recurring issue, especially within, mental health. There's people that can drag others down, and it really creates this whirlwind approach. The one thing that I really want to get your input on is, you were speaking about how your 9-to-5 work with this apprenticeship was really basically like an admin job. When I've been following a man named Gary Vee, I'm not sure if you have
Of course.
about him. Yeah, so he speaks about the model of, at some times when you're young in life, you need to work a 9-to-5 per se, maybe for free, and work in maybe a position that not is necessarily correct for you, or it won't necessarily bring out, the best of your abilities. But he phrases it as, sometimes you just have to eat shit. You just have to work your ass off, and you just have to learn from that example. From that apprenticeship, even though, you saw it as, it's an admin job, you weren't doing anything to your full potential, was there still, other types of, skill sets or an awareness that you were able to bring from that? Because obviously you did realize that you didn't want to work the 9-to-5, but was there anything in terms of how you led that into your business afterwards, into your approaches? Was there anything that you learned from even just digging down and doing some of the dirty work at times?
I think I think that I will take probably more lessons from that experience when I start to hire more employees for my own business, because what I would want to create when that happens is a open environment where where we encourage our employees, or our teams, as equal, but also to some way help them to pursue their own goals and dreams. I think that for me is probably one lesson that I learned from that, because if your employees aren't happy, then they're not going to perform at the best of their ability, right? So I think that is one experience, or one lesson I suppose I can take from it when I start to build teams and hire out more things, is to create an environment where actually we also encourage and help people to pursue their own goals, dreams, and help them with their own self-development and personal development. Because I think that's one of the problems with the 9 to 5 culture, if you like, is that it's a little bit outdated, and I think injecting something like that into it would be very, very beneficial for like mental health purposes as well, to create that culture where people can communicate and help each other out more, just that open environment, I think, would be super valuable. So I would say that's probably one thing I would definitely take from it. That's on my mind. Going back to what you're saying about Gary Vee, I think I love him. I listen to his podcast, I watch his stuff. I think one thing is that I'm all for people going to work, a 9 to 5 or a job. I think one thing that I try and encourage, I think I've seen some of his stuff that also says this, is that if people are interested in like sports or something, right, and they see their career in that, going in that direction, to then go and work in a environment or for a company that's also within that same industry. And that is what I encourage, because then you're in those like environments, if that makes sense. Like for me, okay, I was doing a business apprenticeship, but it was for a company that I think they sold metal or something, so like I wasn't passionate even about what they were doing. So I think if I went to still done a business apprenticeship with something that I also enjoyed. So I'm a huge football fan, so soccer for our American friends. Then, if I'd done that, but it was still a business apprenticeship, then would I have enjoyed it more? Maybe so, because that's another huge one of my passions. So I'm okay, when people are just starting out on their career, and they don't have, the experience and that. I think what I would recommend is to still go and work in an environment if you can, because you can't, it may not always be possible. If you can, still go and work in an environment of something that you like to do, or is one of your interests, or something that you're still passionate about.
It's a great response. I think that's definitely a big distinction that you need to make if you're in a job, in a rut that you don't necessarily follow through with. That was a great advice, because I definitely think you need to follow your passions, and you need to do something that you love. Whether you're taking a pay cut, you have to put in the time, and then you can build yourself up to a place where you can be sustainable. And I think that's where, you can lead to Gary's model is, as long as it's within your passion, then you can put, that extra effort, those extra hours in that field that you're truly passionate about, because then you can upgrade your pay. You can become a more comfortable employee, start to connect with more people. And, that's where it really starts to build. I also love that you spoke about the work environment, because I think that's something that's truly crucial in a lot of 9 to 5s today. You definitely can't find companies that truly want to help someone within the self-development field that's outside of their work. They expect the employees to do that outside of their time. For myself, I completely agree. And, when I want to start my own business, that's something that I want to implement is, some ideas that I've had is, making sure that there's a gym within the work facility, whether it's close by or within the building, or having some, resources such as a meditation class, or just offering the resources for the employees to, find a class close by that they can seek out. I think that's a crucial part to put into your work environment. Is there any specific lifestyle, routines or practices that you specifically would like to implement within your work culture? Is there anything that you've been, thinking about as the future awaits within your business for that, work environment?
Yeah, so actually, I did want to mention. Also, I think within the 9 to 5, people hire, and it's, I can still believe it's happening based on like their qualifications or whatever. Now, of course, that needs to happen to a certain degree, but I think what I would also encourage as well is actually, so let's just take a marketing department, right? Hire someone that is super passionate about marketing, because that's their passion. That's what they love to do. Not somebody who maybe had to go to university to study it, sorry, because, that's what their parents wanted to do, because is their heart really in it? So I think I understand, that there has to be a balance between the two, but I think hiring the right people that are actually super passionate about what they're doing, marketing, and then even if we're niching down from there, like Facebook ads, or whatever it is within your business, I think that is something that I would do. And that would take a lot of time, or more time, to hire those right people. But in the long term, I think it'd be super beneficial, because you're hiring a much more passionate workforce that love what they do, and every day is going to bring those and will contribute to the positive environment that I would want to create. I think I would also encourage like flexible working. I haven't necessarily planned out kind of the details on how that would work, but I think that is something that I'm super keen on and super passionate about as well. Some form of flexible working. Yeah, I think regular, just open conversations. I think allow knowing or creating the environment where my teams and that can come to me with anything, and knowing that I'm there, and knowing that we're going to have conversations to talk through, to resolve a challenge or a problem that arises. Just again, man, just that open communication, I think is super important.
Awesome. That's definitely some valuable, structure that you need within a company, is to have that communication. That's really where I think a lot gets lost with
Mm.
some companies, is there's too much of a hierarchy where that communication between one and the other kind of gets lost. And for what you're saying, if you have a owner, a CEO that you can walk up to and be comfortable to, source your opinion, that's where it really creates change. That's where you can really start to hear, good ideas and start to really connect more openly with each other. And I think that's what creates definitely a more fluid and comfortable work environment for everybody within the company.
100%, man. Completely agree. Yeah, definitely. And I think treating people as equal, like you might be the founder or the CEO or the manager, but at the end of the day, you're still a human being as much as, the newbie that's just coming in the door, and just works, and deals with customers. So, treat people as people, I think.
Love it. That's great advice. It's definitely something that will create better, a better environment, a better comfortability for people to come into their work and every day. Whether they had a struggle outside of work, they can still feel respected, still feel like they can still come into work and be open about who they are. The one thing that I think is truly hard for a lot of people to talk about and find today is their passion, what they truly want to seek out, what's their ultimate devotion in life. It obviously can change throughout your life, but finding the first one is definitely hard for a lot of people. For, myself, I ended up learning that just serving others was a big key role within my own life, and trying to assist others and try to bring out the best of themselves as they can, because I was able to learn that within myself, was truly a very heartwarming, very, just gracious environment and event for myself. What can you speak about in terms of, finding your passion throughout the years as you're growing up, and maybe changing passions throughout, these experimental phases of, your career and your social life?
Yeah, definitely. So I believe, we all have more than one passion. We all have more than passion right now. They just need igniting. And so for me, a couple of ways that first, that do come to mind, it's just by going out there and trying stuff, and by going out there and trying new things, you're going to then come across the one that actually most ignites that love and enthusiasm within inside of you for that thing. I also think when you go through, kind of like myself and lots of other coaches and mentors out there, like if you think about it, let's just say, you see a lot of people who are coaches and mentors, and they help women do A, B, and C, right? Or they help dads do A, B, and C. So I was thinking, like, why this is, and it came to me that they've obviously been through challenges and some sort of pain in their life, and so they don't want those people to also go through those same pains that they went through, if that makes sense. So they've decided, to go, go through that pain, find the solutions, and then go out there and help other people. And I believe that's also ignited their passions for what they're doing, because now they don't want to see other people go through that pain. Similar, I suppose it's similar to what you were saying, serving others. So I think, I do. I don't necessarily recommend people go through some sort of pain, but what I do kind of help people with is look at some of the painful experiences they have been through in their lives and actually think about, can they help somebody else with this pain? And that I've seen it, multiple times, that can actually ignite, those passions within inside of you for helping people, serving others, and not wanting others to go through those similar pains that you've been through. But for a lot of students and a lot of young people, I just recommend going out there and trying things. Like growing up, I've always been passionate and loved playing football, right? So that's still today a huge passion of mine. So, could I have, thinking back, could I have, have dived in there more? Maybe so, I think we all have passions. We just need to, I suppose, be in the moment a bit more and actually realize, what is it I love to do? What is it that I like to do? For a lot of young people, again, I do recommend going out there and trying multiple things, and just trying stuff, because you never know which one is going to ignite this passion. So those are some of the ways that I recommend to people.
Perfect. Those are great. They definitely offer many different varieties of how someone can, find that flair, that flame within inside themselves to, push forward within a career or just a social devotion aspect. Maybe a way that we can collaborate is when I'm over in Europe. Maybe we do a podcast watching some football or such. We can make something fun happen while I'm out there. We can do a live podcast or such. We can make something cool work out.
100%. Sounds awesome.
Wonderful. Well, I think we spoke a little bit about of what really challenged you to start a business, and you always felt a passion for it, but was there an event or, say, a person that really drove you to want to run your own business, to want to create change? Who are some of those people that influenced you, and was there a defining moment to say, this is truly who I'm going to be and the way that I'm going to, follow within, a career step aspect?
Great question. I don't think, if I'm honest, within a career aspect, I remember when I left college, I left halfway through the year because, I really didn't like what I was doing. They changed they actually changed the tutor. And so the new tutor came in, and he brought us all around the table, and at the time I was studying computers, and he started talking about RAM, and I was like, okay, this is not my preferred learning style, So I stuck that out for a few months, and then afterwards it just I lost interest in that. So then I did take a period of time out, and I just decided then I wanted to run my own business for the freedom aspect and to be my own boss. I think that came from a little bit from working jobs before that that I just wanted that freedom. So from a career aspect, maybe not. What I would say is now being in entrepreneurship and being in this, personal development industry, it's being in it that then I've met amazing, inspirational, like-minded people that have challenged me to continue to think differently or continue to try new things. So it's actually been it's actually starting something and then meeting new people that has probably inspired me the most to keep going, rather than somebody or a group of people right at the beginning of my journey inspired me to get started, if that makes sense. Again, when I was at the beginning and that I knew I wanted to run my own business from a freedom standpoint, and actually to create something of my own, to create something of my own, to build that legacy. But yeah, I think it's been more in entrepreneurship and in business and in personal development where I've made those connections with people that's really been valuable.
That's awesome. That's what it really seems to, me, as you really step your feet into the waters within the self-development, within any field that you are, within entrepreneurship, you really start to meet some very humble and gracious people that will offer so much inspiration, motivation for you to want to continue to build that legacy, build platforms that will in turn change the lives of many people. I think, before we want to speak more about, I want to touch a little bit about therapy and, mental health challenges, but I want to offer this time for you to speak more about Grow Together so my audience can understand, the platform that you're offering people today and how maybe it can help one of them if they are seeking out, a lifestyle of entrepreneurship or of just self-continuing education within that field.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate it, man. Yes, so Grow Together. I launched Grow Together beginning of 2018, and basically we help people, the next generation of leaders, aspiring world changers, aspiring entrepreneurs, to ignite their passions, make their ideas happen, and unlock their true potential. So how we do that is through four main key ways. So we have the blog where our community members contribute and ever inspirational people. So they write, inspirational content from, mindset to leadership to confidence, covering all areas. The podcast that we're actually just about to launch. I'm just about to launch a new podcast called the Grow Together Podcast. And so this is going to be having conversations similar to this with our community members. So that brings me on to, we have the community. So the community is it's based on Facebook. So it's actually a Facebook community. And and here we share a lot of content and people ask questions on a daily basis. And it's amazing when then other people answer those questions, that I don't have to always be the one to me, or because we also have a board of mentors to be the ones in the community. Now people are starting to take ownership of it, which is amazing to see. And then we have the Grow Together Academy, which is an e-learning platform we launched at the beginning of this year. And so this is really where people can take igniting their passions and continuing to unlock their true potential to that next level. So yeah, here basically it's a lot of content, exclusive content, resources from short courses, virtual workshops, webinars, checklists, like everything that you can think of to help people go from and just to go from having an idea to making that idea happen. So we have the roadmap, which walks them through this. So example would be the strategy stage, the planning stage, all of these types of things. So that's the roadmap. We have the personal development library. We have the business library for those that want to take their idea and actually build a business around it. We have the community forum. So we have another like community aspect within the academy as well. And so it really helps people. Those world changers, that right now know that there's more to life than meets the eye, but they are maybe stuck in the 9 to 5, and they don't know how to make those ideas happen. Procrastination sets in. Our academy can really help them to take their idea and ultimately make it happen. It's really that simple. So if people want to learn more about it, then go to growtogetheracademy.com and check it out. Also feel free to check out the blog, the new podcast that's coming, and the community group that is based on Facebook as well.
Awesome, Luke. We'll be sure to have all of those links within the show notes so you guys can make sure to check it out and see more if that's a fit for you. I think it's so commendable that, you worked through a lot of these business models. You failed, you succeeded, and now you really know the roadmap, the structure, the ways that you need to go about this at such a young age, and then you transform it into a community where people can assist each other. The community aspect, I think, is wonderful because it offers that feedback. Like you said, you don't necessarily need to be there providing the answers the whole time. It's always, this person within the community can contact, B to A, and, C can share information, and they can all really provide feedback to each other and work within each other, which I think provides a lot more, value within what Grow Together is. It offers, a sense of community, a sense of really a home base for people if they want to seek out, branching out their ideas. And maybe it'll even just help provide some, some brain, some influential pieces within how they think, or maybe
100%.
it'll lead them to that, to fully creating the business. But it's having that step of, offering that community, I think, is so valuable. What has that community meant to me? And why don't you speak, how long has it Grow Together been going thus far? And maybe what are some future goals that you have for that?
So I actually had the idea for Grow Together. It was October 2017, and I tried or beta test for a few months. We launched it properly in the January 2018, and so for the first year, it was mostly just building the community side of things until kind of October time. That's when we started to plan out the academy, and opening up our blog to other fellow community members so they can have a voice and share some things that are working for them. So that's kind of that has been some of the journey. And then beginning of this year we launched the academy as well, to really take it to that next level. So for the future, yes, workshops, events, networking events, speaking events, going into schools, putting on personal development classes, and all of this kind of amazing things. And just continuing to grow our e-learning platform. We've got, I want to add a lot of other different features in that, but one step at a time. That's some of the plans that we have, for the next year, 3 years, 5 years, and that's really so. I'm looking forward to it.
That's great. I'm really looking forward to it as well, and seeing where it really takes off, and more of how we can help really build these events to something really impactful. I think the events and the workshops really create the big change. Having that sense of community right in front of your face offers so much value. You learn so much and hear such commendable stories and connect with such great people when you have those, central places to continue that growth and that development. The, one thing that I really want to end off on through this interview is speaking about, wrapping up on mental health. And the one thing I think that you can provide some great insight to is CBT. So why don't you speak about how impactful CBT has been to you thus far, and what do you enjoy about that learning process through the therapy sessions?
Yeah, so I did mention it earlier about not wanting to take pills and that. So the only other alternative the doctors in that offered me was CBT. So I went along, to one session and I was like, okay, this is okay. But it wasn't until I think it was probably going for it for a number of months that I really started to see change within that. And I think the main thing for me, thinking back, was probably raising the awareness of how our thoughts play a massive part, but more than that, like how our thoughts have an impact on our actions, and like just like that ecosystem of thoughts, actions, beliefs, and everything like that. That once I really started to understand that and bring more awareness to that, it was a very eye-opening moment. And I remember writing it down, and then just one day seeing how all of the dots lined up, which for anyone is one step to overcoming it. When you raise that level of awareness, that's a huge step forward. So I think it's a great tool. We actually have a CBT course within the Grow Together Academy that somebody has put together within the personal development section. So yeah, it's definitely helped me, and I think the main way it did is raising that level of awareness, and how it all comes back into the fight or flight response and everything. And I think once I kind of seen all of that on paper and linked it all up to my thoughts and how my thoughts were kind of triggering that was very impactful. It's definitely helped me.
That's awesome. The self-awareness part is definitely so huge. I think that's something that I've really focused on is, once you become aware of your thoughts, emotions, actions, before you really put them into place, that's when, you start to really act and perform to a more conscious approach. You really start to understand of, why you're feeling certain ways, why you're acting certain ways, and maybe how to change how you're acting within the future. So it offers, that great awareness of, who you are, what you're doing, where you want to be, where you want to go. I think CBT offers a great, awareness, a great, understanding of where you can improve, but also, what you are doing great within, your present moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
The, one thing that I want to ask you is, you've provided a lot of inspiration and motivation for people thus far in terms of creating businesses, in terms of, following their passions. What would be one tip that you'd have for a young adult that's facing a mental health challenge today?
I think it would be to not give up and to realize or understand that nothing lasts forever. And so, although right now they might be going through a challenging time, that with the right set of actions, they can get out of that place. I would also encourage people to be in the moment more and to reflect more and to practice things like meditation, because I think that's really helped me. So a couple of things there, but I think to realize that, although you're going through a bad time right now, it's not going to last forever, especially if you're taking the right actions to get yourself out of that. So that would probably be my piece of advice, and to obviously not give up.
Awesome. I love it, Luke. Thank you for that piece of advice. I think it'll offer, a great perspective and mindset for people to have. I think it's definitely commendable. It shows that, at such a young age, you were able to overcome a lot of these mental health challenges, and what you're doing now speaks volumes that, there's endless amounts of potential for anybody. You just have to take those action steps, like you were saying, to move forward, to get over those humps, and really follow your passion, do what you love, and really bring out, some positive vibrations, emotions, and connections within the world today, which you certainly are doing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, Luke, it's really been a pleasure. And, I just want to speak and say how grateful I am to have this connection, to speak with you today. I will make sure that we'll have all of the links towards Luke's work, and will really provide a lot more awareness within, the self-development mental health field, and how it's really connected within the work environment, whether, you're seeking out entrepreneurship, whether you're seeking out a 9-to-5, there's many different avenues, but mental health is definitely a core aspect within that field. Before, we end this interview, I really have a question that I love to ask my guests. And it's, if you're to be writing a book about your life, I'm asking a question based on a single chapter. And this chapter is going to be focused upon, your recent, say, year or two. So what you're currently enduring, what you're currently facing, what you're currently working through, what you're collaborating on, what would the chapter of, your past year or two be? And, give us a little insight as to why, whether it's positive, awesome collaboration and awesome, work that you've been going through, or it's been, more of a challenging, thoughtful experience, but it provided a lot of insight. So, what would your chapter be called? And tell us a little bit about why you're experiencing that, and, what you're looking forward to through this experience.
Yeah, that's such a great question. Just like thinking of what I could call it. For a second, then I thought you were going to say, what would your book be called? And I was like, oh crap! Like, what am I going to call it? I think for the last year or so, I think it would probably have to be, it would have to do something around connecting people together. So like bringing people together or something around those lines. And I think why I'm choosing that is because I am connecting with so many awesome people on a daily basis. And, I connect with someone and then I realize that actually they know someone that I've previously connected with either 6 or a year ago later. Or people are connecting with me and, they're saying, oh, I know you know him, or I know you know her. And it feels just within that. And that's not even with Inside Grow Together, that's just, in general. And so I think it would have to be something around connecting, bringing people together, something around that, because I think that is definitely something that is happening right now. And it's amazing to see. So, yeah, it would have to be something around that.
Awesome. That's great, Luke. That's a great response. I think that community, that connection is so valuable. It's something that I've been really appreciating is, meeting such great and commendable people like yourself. It not only inspires myself, but just offers the availability for people listening just to know that there's so much potential, there's so much out there. And, we're all individuals, we're all unique, and we all face something, but, we're really truly defined by how we resurrect from a lot of these challenges, what we build in terms of that legacy. And I think you're on one great path. I'm really excited to, seeing more about what you do, and obviously collaborating soon in the future, and really bringing a lot more change and conversation within, the fields of mental health within the work environment, within entrepreneurship. There's a lot out there, and I think you're headed in such a great direction. So I just want to thank you for being here today, Luke. It really was a pleasure to interview you, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun collaborating more and, seeing what we both do in the future. And it's definitely a bright and wonderful road ahead of us both. So, thank you, Luke. It really was a pleasure speaking with you. I look forward to my audience hearing such an awesome insight into your own life and maybe something that they can connect with through something that they're experiencing today.
No worries, man. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me on the show, and I'm looking forward to this football podcast.
So am I. I really look forward to it. We'll make it happen. I think it'll be an awesome way for us to speak about our passions and have a nice podcast episode, a little different than
100%, man. Thank you so much.